I'm joined now by Beto O'Rourke. Beto, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me on.
So you've been the subject of attacks from Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton. He recently went to court to try and seek a temporary restraining order against you and your organization, Powered by People. Can I have your reaction to the fact that the Attorney General is now taking his time to fight you in court?
Yeah, I think this is a really good sign on a couple of counts. One, he's trying to stop us. He's trying to shut us down. He's trying to shut me up. He's trying to prevent me from exercising my First Amendment rights. And he wants to stop me from raising resources to have the backs of these 54 Texas Democrats who are all that stand between us and Donald Trump stealing 5 congressional seats. And on every single count, he lost. Yesterday, we had one of the biggest rallies we've ever held in Fort Worth. Thousands of people came out 15 months before the next election to rally behind these 54 Democrats, to rally for this country, and to fight with everything we've got. Never on defense, never reacting, never responding, never in the resistance, but taking the fight to them. And Brian, the other thing that makes me so encouraged to see Paxton doing this and Abbott filing with the Texas Supreme Court to vacate these state representatives from office or to charge them with second-degree felonies, they are in full-blown panic mode right now. They realize that if Trump is unsuccessful in stealing these 5 congressional districts, he's going to lose control of the House of Representatives. That will then produce not only a check on his lawlessness, but there will be real accountability for his crimes, his cover-ups, his corruption, and we will be able to look forward to potentially free and fair elections going forward in 2028. So the other side gets, this one is for all the marbles. And so they are pulling out all the stops. And I just want to say thank you to you personally, and then thank you to everybody who watches and listens and follows you, because you all have been total heroes, because you get that this is not a Texas fight. This is an America fight. And you all have been all in, making sure that there are the resources there, not only for us to fight, but to win this fight. So thank you.
Well, I appreciate that. And I actually want to talk about that exact issue, which is it's not just Texas that Donald Trump has issued his clarion call. You've got J.D. Vance going into Indiana. You've heard rumblings from lawmakers in Missouri. And now, of course, you have Ron DeSantis, who's jockeying for position, who announced that Florida would be looking into mid-cycle redistricting. So what does it say that we have all of these Republicans across the country now trying to engage in this fight on behalf of Donald Trump?
I think they understand, because Donald Trump has made it crystal clear to them that if they fail to steal these seats, if they're unable to maintain control in the House, the game is over. The goose is cooked. It's been breathtaking for all of us to watch Donald Trump's criminal enterprise operating out of the White House, operating as though he has complete impunity from the law, right? Like the $400 million gift from the Qataris, bribing Ghislaine Maxwell in broad daylight, saying, hey, we'll send you to Camp Fed. We'll basically reduce the terms of your sentence, even though you're a convicted child sex trafficker, if you'll help us cover up Donald Trump's complicity in Jeffrey Epstein's crimes, the rigged deal with Eric Adams. It's almost as if they felt like they would never face justice. And the truth of the matter is, they won't face justice if we are unable to stop this deal and win control of the House. So, it's all hands on deck for the other side. But Brian, again, kudos to you and others. I saw your interview with Governor Pritzker. We've been listening to what you and others have been saying, pushing Governors Newsom, Governors Hochul, Governors Pritzker, and other Democratic governors to fight fire with fire, and also not wait for these other guys to land the first punch, but to seize the initiative and redraw districts in these states to maximize Democratic congressional advantage, and to do that. Now, we also have to understand that this one is for all the marbles, but I'm encouraged. The thousands who showed up yesterday in Fort Worth. You caught me right now in Gordon, Texas. I'm on my way to Abilene, which I think Taylor County voted for Trump 73% last time. But those folks are organizing. They're fired up. They get that this fight is on. So I just think we've got to do everything we can with what we have, wherever we are in this country right now, because everything that we care about is on the line. And I'm encouraged to see so many people stepping up.
What's your message to those Democratic governors in those few positions that we actually have at our disposal to fight fire with fire, to use your exact words? And I'm not just talking about Newsom and Pritzker. We've got Hochul, Westmore. We've got Governor Ferguson in Washington, Kotek in Oregon, Jared Polis in Colorado. And so what's your message to all these folks where we can actually be aggressive here and counteract what Republicans are doing in these states across the country?
To these governors who have the power to do the right thing at the right moment, do not let this pass without a fight. And as long as we're fighting, let's seize the initiative. There's no use, if we're going to be in this fight, allowing them to land the first blow. We've got to seize the initiative, because if we fail in this, if we stop this steal, if we don't win control of the House of Representatives by any and all means necessary, then the consolidation of authoritarian power in the hands of Donald Trump after 26 will be nearly unstoppable. So more masked, plainclothes federal agents without warrants or badges sweeping the citizens of your state up off the street. It means that you and other political opponents of Donald Trump will be targeted for retribution, for vengeance, for persecution, and even for political violence. We have already seen it. And it means that a Republican-controlled Congress will more likely than not roll out the royal red carpet for a third Trump term. Now, Brian, you've commented on this, and you've led the fight on this, and you've opened people's eyes to everyone who's bending the knee to this would-be fascist king right now. The big tech companies, Tim Cook disgustingly giving Donald Trump a literally 24-karat gold-plated iPhone this week. The universities, Harvard may be considering a $500 million settlement, Columbia, the big law firms, the wealthiest, the most powerful people, those who are in a position to actually fight back and win have bent the knee. We have to show Donald Trump in America that our knees don't bend and that we're going to stand and fight every single day for as long as it takes until we win.
Beto, what does it say to you when you see, like, Texas has a reputation, right? It's strong, it's independent, doesn't have to listen to what's happening in Washington. What does it say to you when you see these tough, independent Texas Republicans see a con artist from Queens, from New York, this slimy businessman from New York, and just capitulate the way that they have? Just like in a general sense, what would previous generations of Texans say when they see that happening?
Absolutely disgusting and horribly embarrassed by the conduct of these legislators. And look, I get that we're going to have differences of opinion, that we're going to try to maximize political power, but to do so not for the ideology that you subscribe to, for the policies that you pursue, but simply to satisfy the ambition, the greed, the thirst for power by Donald Trump. It's as un-Texan as it gets. And Ann Johnson, she's one of these heroic state legislators who left the state to break quorum to stop this deal. She made this comparison, Brian. She said, when Trump called Georgia Republicans after the 2020 election and said, "Hey, will you find me 11,000 votes?" They said, "The hell with that. Absolutely not. It's unconstitutional. It's illegal. We will not do this." When he called Texas Republicans and said, "Find me 5 congressional seats," they said, "How soon do you want them?"
Yeah.
And so that's the difference right now, both between 2025 and 2020, but also I would argue between these Texas Republicans and Republicans in other states like Georgia. These folks are working with Trump thick as thieves, and it will be to the detriment not only to Democrats, I mean, that's not really the issue here, but to the constituents that they purport to represent and serve. Those are the folks who are going to be hurt worse by their betrayal.
Beto, when you're out in doing these rallies where thousands of people are showing up, and I've been following them on, I know that you're live streaming them on Instagram, and I'm seeing you out everywhere talking to these folks. Are there any Republicans or independents, Trump voters, Republican voters out there, anecdotal though this may be, who have been able to speak to you and kind of offer some insight into their thoughts on what the Trump administration and the Republican Party more broadly are doing?
At every single one of these things. So I mentioned we were just in Tarrant County, which is where Fort Worth is. It is called the last reliably large red urban county. We won it in 18 for the first time in 20 years, won it again in 20, lost it in 22 and 2024. So this is a true competitive battleground.
Yeah.
And it's critically important, not just for Texas, but for the country. And yes, There were people who came up after the rally and said, hey, lifelong Republican, never voted for a Democrat before, but this is beyond the pale. I don't like these warrantless roundups. I don't like the president defying the Constitution. And this thing that we would concede the fight, Texas Republicans would concede the fight and willingly give up democracy, the will of their voters, the fierce independence that we've won for this state. That is too much for me. But the same holds true for, Brian, I was just in Oklahoma City the night before, in Omaha, Indianapolis. We were in Kansas City, and we were in Milwaukee. So wherever we go, yes, we're seeing Democrats for sure. But we're also seeing people who say, I've never been to one of these town halls before. I never considered myself a political person. I routinely voted for Republicans because that's just what we do in our family. But now my eyes are open, and I want to know how I can help out. And so we're signing them up to join organizations like ours, powered by people in Texas, or other organizations that are registering voters, that are fighting this fight, that are organizing people and are mobilizing so that we win in 2026, even if, God forbid, the maps get redrawn in the state of Texas. We should be able to win those newly drawn districts, as well as pick up the districts that Republicans currently represent, because they will have had to concede Republican voters into these newly drawn maps. So there are opportunities everywhere if we will see it that way. And then in addition, thanks to you and the great work that you and those who watch you are doing, we're putting the pressure on Democratic governors to seize the initiative and make those more winnable seats in their states as well. It is ours to lose, the House of Representatives, in 2026. So we better be about winning it each and every single day going forward.
I know that the message that you've been offering up at these town halls and that we're speaking about right now, obviously extraordinarily persuasive, but I think there's still a large faction of the country for whom they'll rely on some affirmative message, not just how anti-democratic these Republicans are, but also what Democrats have to offer. And so while you've been speaking to these folks, in addition to the defensive message, which, look, I think is certainly enough. I mean, this is a moment where democracy is quite literally teetering on the brink. But in terms of the affirmative message that's been resonating with Texans, what has that been?
Yeah, I talk about how when Democrats in 2024, I think for understandable reasons, talked about saving democracy.
Yeah.
It was really confusing for people in Texas. Our state is the toughest in which to cast a ballot. It's harder here than anywhere else in America to register, to vote. The level of gerrymandering and the number of people who are already disenfranchised it's unprecedented since the era of Jim Crow, prior to the Voting Rights Act. So folks are like, what democracy are you trying to save? I'm confused here. So we talk about a vision that includes building a democracy that is worth saving. So overturning Citizens United. So corporations aren't people, money's not speech. Passing the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. We had the power to do that in 2021. We had the White House, the House, and the Senate. We didn't move forward. Brian, if all of us had put the pressure on all of them to actually use that power, you and I wouldn't be having this discussion because we would have real districts drawn by real people instead of members of Congress choosing their voters, getting big money out of politics. After we win power, getting politicians out of redistricting. That's what a democracy might look like. But we also talk about an economic democracy, making sure that if you work a job, you don't have to work a second or a third. So in other words, in Texas, for example, you could afford to teach school without also bartending or serving at a restaurant or driving Uber, which most Texas teachers have to do today. Be able to afford a home, to take care of your kids, to see a doctor when you're sick, before you're sick, so that you don't get sick. You have access to fresh and healthy food and clean drinking water. This is stuff that doesn't exist for so many millions of my fellow Texans right now. And when Democrats get connected to the status quo, no wonder that folks are like, you know what, I'm going to take a pass on this one.
Yeah.
If Democrats describe an ambitious, aspirational vision for the future of this country, this is how America will be different. We will no longer be complicit in the bombing and the starving and the slaughtering of innocent children in Gaza. We'll use our awesome power to help create an independent, sovereign state for the Palestinian people and work for the safety of all Israelis, all Palestinians, everyone in that region, instead of spending all these hundreds of billions of dollars bombing people who have no complicity or fault in this war, are completely innocent of it. And that stain is going to stay on us until we change. I'm meeting young people who want to hear us say this loudly and clearly and be plain as day on the issues that are clear as day before us right now. So, the list goes on, but we have to describe what America will look like when we win power. And it can't be what America looked like when we had power before, because we didn't do enough. We didn't use that power. We didn't, as Mandela Barnes said at our town hall in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, we didn't drive the car like we stole it. That's what we need to do going forward. Run the tables on these guys when we win power to serve the American people.
Couldn't have said it better. Beto, I know that I'm channeling the voices of everybody watching after having listened to that, but what's next for you? I know that there's been some discussion among a group of Texas Democrats, Colin Allred, you, James Tallarico, Representative Castro. Have you made a decision in terms of what's next for you personally?
I'm going to stay on the road, keep organizing, bringing people together, registering folks to vote through Powered by People, raising resources to support the fight that you see going on right now. These 54 who are the last best line of defense for all of us, wherever you live in America. I think that's kind of the highest and best use of what I've got to offer. And then from that, if there is a campaign, if there is some other role that I can play, I'm down for it. I'm going to do whatever it takes to make sure that we come through. But you'll love to hear this. Yesterday, when we were with all these folks in Fort Worth and Tarrant County, I was on that stage with Joaquin Castro. I was on that stage with Congressman Mark Vesey. His district in Fort Worth is one of the districts that Republicans are trying to erase. To erase not just him from this position of public trust, but to erase the will of all the voters that he represents, a district that is overwhelmingly a Mexican-American and African-American majority district. Elisa Simmons, who's this badass fiery county commissioner in Tarrant County. The Tarrant County Commission redrew her district. It may be because she's Black and because she represents Black people in that district, and they don't like that. It turns out they don't like the folks who fight and the folks who fight to win. And so they're trying to draw people out. So bringing people together instead of just seeing ourselves as competitors with one another, but hey, we're in this fight together, and probably our greatest leverage is our unity. And as Ben Franklin warned us, we either hang together or we're going to hang alone. And so I'm just trying to hang together with as many good people out there as I possibly can right now.
And finally, Beto, I know that a lot of people who are watching this are looking to help. I literally could not think of a better organization than Powered by People. So can you give some insight into what Powered by People is able to do right now for folks who are looking to contribute?
Couple of things. So if you have the time to volunteer, and you don't have to be in Texas, anywhere in America, we want you to go to poweredxpeople.org, and we would gladly take your help. If you're in Texas, we will sign you up and train you and get you certified as a volunteer deputy registrar in a state with no online voter registration, no automatic, no same-day voter registration. This is the best way to meet young voters where they are, get them on the rolls. And then Powered by People uniquely stays in touch with newly registered voters to help them navigate our election laws here to actually turn them out. And young voters in Texas who came through our program last year turned out at a rate of 79%. The national average is 42%. So this stuff works. If you're out of state, there's still a role for you to stay in touch with these newly registered voters and answer their questions and just make sure that you have their back and that you encourage them. In addition, we're raising resources to make sure that Democrats can stay in this fight, including the 54 right now who bravely broke quorum to stop this steal in Texas for Donald Trump's 5 congressional seats. So if you donate either at our website or you can text the word FIGHT to 20377, we'll make sure that those resources go to this fight, and a fight not just for points, a fight not just for effort, a fight not just to talk about, but a fight to win.
I just want to echo how important your organization has been. I've been a true believer in Powered by People for years and years and years. So highly recommend, if anybody's looking to contribute, anybody looking to help, anybody looking to volunteer, please head over to Powered by People. I'm going to put the link right here on the screen and also in the post description of this video. As Beto mentioned, Texas is one of the hardest states to be able to register to vote in. And so these folks are doing the necessary work to make sure that there are no obstacles in doing so. So again, I'll put the link right here on the screen and also in the post description. Beto, as always, thanks for the work you're doing and thanks for the time today.
Thank you, sir.